Imagine your organization operates in multiple countries. Each country has its own set of regulatory requirements. When designing the system for such an environment, you must ensure that data is isolated and cannot be accessed by users from the other countries. For example, users from Japan should not be able to see Canadian data, and vice versa. This separation is critical to ensure compliance. Even if it's not a multinational corporation, an organization would have different departments or offices, such as finance, legal, or HR. While some departments need to share information, releasing top secret or R&D information could jeopardize the business. The legal department and corporate executives must also guard the information, as leaks can permanently hurt the company's reputation. SharePoint helps solve this issue by using sites, which have security permissions to control access to information. Additionally, when users search for documents, the results they get are only for the documents that their permissions allow them to see. SharePoint uses security trimming to ensure this. But it's not quite the same in Microsoft Purview. Enter eDiscovery, a powerful tool that searches data across your entire organization for legal cases or routine investigations. Additionally, content searches within Microsoft Purview allow you to search all content, even if you are not using eDiscovery. There is no security trimming. Users with eDiscovery Manager permissions can see information from all SharePoint sites, even if they are not members of these sites. Furthermore, eDiscovery managers can export documents to their computers using the eDiscovery Export tool. I showed you SharePoint sites in the previous example. However, content search will also fetch Exchange Online emails and OneDrive files. All emails can be downloaded to the user computer as PST files using the eDiscovery Export tool. What if they're then accidentally leaked? What if you have an insider who could benefit from accessing all your company information by simply stealing it? If you are implementing an insider risk management solution within your organization, I suggest that it is never complete without compliance boundaries. eDiscovery uses cases to manage investigations. Investigators are assigned to specific cases and can only see the information within those cases. However, what if the search fetches too much information, including files they shouldn't see? For instance, if the search query was not properly refined. Additionally, how do you control which investigator is assigned to which search without confusion? Assuring that the right investigator has access to sensitive information is crucial. These investigators can also export the files to their computers using the eDiscovery Export tool. It is also worth mentioning that eDiscovery Manager has access to all cases. Here's the company, the honest lawyers. Someone mishandled the eDiscovery searches, leading to a massive leak of sensitive information. Now, the company is in serious trouble, and the damage to the company reputation is undeniable. The executive's message is loud and clear. Fix it. How do we prevent this disaster from happening again? We implement compliance boundaries. Here are the familiar SharePoint sites, which represent departments within an organization. We are going to create logical segments with boundaries that cannot be crossed, even in Microsoft Purview. Now, let's discuss segmentation strategy for compliance boundaries. In some organizations, smaller departments or business units would share information and may not have the resources to train dedicated eDiscovery managers. In these cases, creating a logical segment for each business unit is unnecessary and not feasible. Only the most sensitive departments need their own segments to ensure data protection. Compliance boundaries require you to use a specific attribute for segmentation, such as department or a country, but not both. In other words, you cannot mix and match. You have to stick to one specific attribute. Because of that, it is often easier to segment the organization by department, for example. In other organizations, each department or business unit may require its own compliance boundary segment. This is particularly important for larger organizations with more resources and a greater need for strict data segregation. Each department would have their own segment to assure that other department cannot cross that boundary. So for this case, we cannot use department attribute. We would need to use a custom attribute to group departments into the segments. I will cover this in the technical solution video of this series. Subscribe to get notified. So what's involved in setting up compliance boundaries? We need to define the segments, and we need to select the attribute we're going to use to define those segments. Again, could be country, company, city, department, or office. And if these attributes are not sufficient, we can utilize custom attributes to create any segments we need to. For this example, we are going to use a department attribute and create a research, executive, and finance segments. In step 2, we are going to create role groups for each agency or segment. I suggest that at the minimum, you create 2 different role groups that differentiate between e-discovery managers and investigators. And here is an example of the role groups that we create for our segments. In step 3, we're going to create a filter. Here are the properties. First, it's filter name. And this is something that we created in step 1. Next property is username. And this is what we created in step 2. This would be your role group. For example, a research e-discovery managers. The third property is filters that we're applying. And the filters would be mailbox, or we want to filter on the site content. Note that compliance boundaries are implemented using PowerShell. And here's the example. The command that we are using is new compliance security filter. Note that this is just an example of the command. This is not the compliance boundary solution. You would need to create more filters to effectively allow or block access to information. By implementing search permission filters, we enforce compliance boundaries. This setup ensures that e-discovery managers can search and access data relevant to their specific department. So now you know what compliance boundaries are and how they solve the issue of potential oversharing of information and data leaks in Microsoft Purview content search and e-discovery. Stay tuned for part 2 of the compliance boundaries video, where I will demonstrate how to implement the compliance boundaries solution in M365 using PowerShell and Microsoft Purview.